Wow. Happy IndyCar return week. And this Tuesday, we just decided, yep, we're throwing a grenade into the IndyCar silly season. And you guys know I am always upfront and honest about what I know and what I don't know. And I'll tell you right now, David Malukas to Foyt was something that completely caught me by surprise. This is a bombshell of bombshells, and we're going to be talking about not only this move, because I think a lot of people are kind of misinterpreting or maybe placing, previous expectations on the Foyt team that really aren't valid anymore. And we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about their alignment with Team Pensky, which of course has been known since the end of last year. But I think that's a significant factor in this whole thing, and we'll talk about that both positively and negatively. And we also have to now think, wait a second, Meyer Shank Racing has a car available now that, on paper, if you have the IndyCar chops, can make go very fast. And obviously there's some big free agents out there that could potentially take that seat. So we'll be talking about all of it. But I do want to give some quick house cleaning. We're still waiting on the Austin Dillon decision as of recording of this video. We don't know that yet, so stay tuned. There might be a video later today on that. There might not be. DL500 Club, link in the description, patreon.com. The DL500 Club, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow for members of the DL500 Club. And at 8 p.m. tonight, there is a special channel announcement, a new partnership that I've formed that is really, really cool, a really big deal. And we're finally, after I've teased it a couple of times, getting to announce it tonight at 8 p.m. Really, really good for this channel, really good for the sport, and hopefully it'll be good for you guys as well. So stay tuned for that. So, Lil Dave, David Malukas, to AJ Foyt Racing. I think this is huge. And, I said in a couple of previous videos that I think that David Malukas and Meyer Shank Racing would have been nuts to not continue that partnership because, from all accounts, and if you looked at what David Malukas has been able to do in that car this year with very limited testing, obviously the injury concern was something that I think everybody was thinking about and considering. Would David Malukas still be as quick as he had been in the past? And that answer was an affirmative very quickly. David Malukas is definitely still a top-tier driver in IndyCar and a driver with a lot of upside. But if there was a better seat available, it wouldn't have shocked me if David Malukas left. Now, I think a lot of the discussion is going to be, is AJ Foyt Racing a better seat than Meyer Shank Racing? I think it's definitely a sideways move. I don't think he's going up, but I also don't think he's going down. There's a lot of different aspects to this, and I think the first and most important one is that partnership with Team Pensky. Because if you look at David Malukas, and again, he has looked more impressive this year, week to week, than he did at Dale Coyne Racing. And at Dale Coyne Racing, it seemed like David's real strength was the short ovals. Of course, we start those this weekend. But he's also now shown real pace on street courses and road courses. And of course, we know that he is fast on the super speedways as well, as evidenced by his run at Texas Motor Speedway last year. So if you put him in we'll call it a satellite Penske car, it's a very good opportunity for David Malukas, to say the least. I think he's going to be ridiculously quick because I think Santino Ferrucci is the greatest benchmark of all. What team did Santino Ferrucci start in IndyCar with? Dale Coyne Racing. Where did he show flashes of brilliance? Short ovals and Indianapolis. Who does that sound like? David Malukas. Where is Santino Ferrucci in the championship right now? In the top 10. We haven't even gone to most of the tracks that Santino Ferrucci is known for being fast at. The short ovals. So, logically speaking, David Malukas took a step up to Shank, started performing at all the tracks to the level that he was performing on the short ovals. And one would expect, you get some Pensky equipment underneath you, the speed's going to be there at all tracks for David Malukas, and he's going to take a step up at the tracks he's already fast at. And in particular, and I talked about this in the Alexander Rossi video, the ability to go fast at Indianapolis is important as an IndyCar driver. It sounds silly to say that, but I can't even describe how important it is to perform at that race. And if there's a team out there, if there's probably the number one team if you're bringing a driver in, if a driver's coming in, they have to be fast in Indianapolis. It's at AJ Foyt Racing. Because what does AJ care about? AJ cares about the Indianapolis 500. And he only learns your name if you go fast at the Indianapolis 500 when driving one of his cars. He's learned Santino Ferrucci's name. And if you think about Santino Ferrucci, there's been two other drivers who have made a 14 car go that fast at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Their names are AJ Foyt and Kenny Breck. What do those two drivers have in common? Both won the race. And I think Santino Ferrucci, with his top 10, run at the Indianapolis 500, will someday win that race. And David Malukas, you can now put him in that category as well. And if you think about it, if this is keeping the 1-2 punch of Malukas and Santino, and we'll talk about Stingray Robb here in just a second, if this is a Santino-Malukas pairing, this AJ Foyt Racing is legit. They're not just kind of like the Nat, you're kind of like batting away at the Indianapolis 5. They're legit. I think they're legit now. If you've got two strong cars, two young, hungry Chargers, you're legit. Straight up. Now, I think it's important as well to note that the Pensky satellite team, AJ Foyt Racing, has two drivers, Santino Ferrucci and David Malukas, who have rubbed pretty much everybody at Team Pensky, at least on the driving core, the wrong way before. Not so much Will Power, but Scott McLaughlin and Joseph Newgarden, I remember both pretty publicly rumbling with Malukas after one of the Gateway races. I think it was 2022, maybe 2023. I don't remember, but it was one of the Gateway races, and they were not very happy with Mr. Malukas. So it's interesting that they're all going to be one happy family going forward. The thing that I had heard about AJ Foyt Racing, and that there's been all sorts of talk about all sorts of different people and teams over the course of the silly season. We've discussed it in a little bit more depth in the DL 500 Club streams, but the only thing that I had heard about Foyt for next year was the potentiality of a third car. I certainly hadn't heard that David Malukas was moving over there, as I mentioned off the top. I guess the question that I would have, and we'll need to eventually have answered, is David Malukas driving the 14, or is he driving the 41? Suppose we could look at the press release. No, it just says one of the team's Chevrolet-powered Dolares. Interesting that the AJ Foyt Racing team still describes the chassis. Just love that, although they're all the Dolares, of course. But old school, I like it. So if the team is Malukas and Stingray, which ironically is Coyne's lineup from last year, I'm not feeling as confident in that one as I would Santino and Malukas. And I guess we'll address the elephant in the room. And I get it. Nolan Siegel took it not very well that people were talking about the fact that his dad had money. And whether or not that played a factor in him getting it signed at McLaren, I get it. But Stingray was bringing money. And are we pretending like David Malukas isn't capable of bringing a budget? Now, we know that Stingray brought a pretty significant budget, some people have said, anywhere as high as $8 million this year to AJ Foyt Racing, which pays for Santino Ferrucci and that 14 car to operate. And so if Malukas is bringing a budget, can pay for Santino and himself, and also be fast, if you're AJ Foyt Racing, how the hell do you not take that deal? Just makes too much sense. So to the third car point, if Stingray still has the cash and enough cash to offset the potentiality of missing the show, not just at Indianapolis, but any race, because I wouldn't necessarily expect AJ Foyt Racing to get 3 charters next year. But let's say Stingray still has $8 million. If you're AJ Foyt Racing, do you tell him no? I wouldn't. If Malukas is bringing money, Santino has a couple of sponsors, and Stingray's bringing money, why not run a third car? Maybe if Chevy tells you we don't have an engine, that would probably be the biggest detractor there. But if it's possible, why not? I don't know. It's very interesting. There's a lot of interesting aspects to this. On the subject of Meyer Shank Racing and why it's more of a sidestep, in my opinion, than going up or down the IndyCar ladder system, I would say that Meyer Shank Racing, with their yet-to-be-announced partnership with Ganassi, certainly puts them in the same realm as what AJ Foyt Racing currently has. I wouldn't say they're significantly better or significantly worse than AJ Foyt Racing. They have the same capabilities of winning races right now, I would say. They compete for top 10s, sometimes high up in the top 5s, sometimes pole positions. But they haven't quite yet gotten to, we can beat Ganassi, we can beat Pensky, we can beat Andretti, we can beat McLaren. But they're close. And I think a Ganassi partnership is going to help that team, and it will certainly help them attract the absolute best talent. And certainly now, especially with some of the rumors about whether or not you believe them, of course, I've begun to hear very contrary things to Alexander Rossi driving for Ganassi next year. Why not Shank? Especially if the partnership is there. You can kind of get him in the room. You don't have to have him drive for Ganassi. Could make some sense. Maybe Ganassi farms one of its drivers over there. Now that there's a little bit more clarity to the puzzle piece about what's going on with Meyer Shank Racing, I could definitely see Palou, who I don't think he's going to sign for Audi in F1. Just going to say that. Dixon and Kiffin Simpson, whose dad is footing a big bill for the entire Ganassi operation. Then do you move a Marcus Armstrong to Shank, or do you move a Linus Lundqvist, who's driven previously for Shank, over to Shank? That can make some sense too. And then if Rossi's not going to Shank, it's really beginning to look like the most logical place that Alexander Rossi could go is Rahal. Is there going to be a seat available for him there? Who knows? We know Yuri Vips is getting another tryout at Portland in a 4th car for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Is the 30 car available? Well, 5 Hour Energy just said that they're going to back Pietro Fittipaldi at the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. So I don't know. There's a lot more craziness to come, I think, because let's be honest with ourselves. Who expected David Malukas at AJ Foyt Racing for next year? But I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be a great car, team, driver combination. And I am very much looking forward to seeing David in a super duper strong car at the Indianapolis 500. I think that is going to be a show worth watching. Thank you guys so much for watching. And a lot more content coming, including a special, exciting announcement for the channel at 8 p.m. Eastern. See you there.